Could I have your attention, please?
Don't you think on it for 1 minute. You're a wizard, Harry.
People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces are ugly when you're alone. Women seem wicked when you're unwanted. Streets are uneven when you are down. Say it, spit it out. What is it exactly? Paying is the amount. Cleaning you out, am I satisfactory? Today I'm thinking about the things that are deadly. The way I'm drinking you down, like I wanna drown, like I wanna end me. Step on the glass, staple your tongue. Bury your friend, try to wake up. Cannibal class, killing the sun. Bury your friend. People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces are ugly when you're alone. Women seem wicked when you're unwanted. Streets are uneven when you are down. Step on the glass, staple your tongue. Bury your friend, try to wake up. Cannibal class, killing the sun. Bury your friend. What do you want from me? Why don't you run from me? What are you wondering? What do you know? Why aren't you scared of me? Why don't you care for me? When we all fall asleep, where do we go?
They're here.
By hiding in plain sight.
The BBC would like to announce that the next scene is not considered suitable for family viewing.
Our church is at war. We are under attack from an old enemy, the Illuminati.
Attention! JOF pages, channels, and all social media types directly associated do hold to the historical conservative Christian faith, which includes a firm belief in the inerrancy of Scripture. All the text and audio content provided by JOF represents a range of evangelical traditions, and respectfully amongst all others, and all ideas and principles that are conveyed in the resource materials are not necessarily affirmed in total to JOF's beliefs. Nor does the creator of this channel by body, air, and flesh and blood, and or any provider or influence of resource material or affiliated person or group hold responsibility of misleadings or indoctrinations of the one true God. This is an exploration of theoretical thoughts and associations with views from many and or all ethnicities, faiths, beliefs, divinities, worships, creeds, covens, lodges, pacts, teachings, doctrinations, theologies, sects, cults, religious groups, faith communities, churches, temples, denominations, bodies, governments, leaderships, shrines, clubs, followings, persuasions, affiliations, the rights to freedoms of religions, and is not intended to offend, disprove, discredit, or discourage. Thank you for the peace and unity of, and on my channel. Sincerely, John of Fire.
A late summer's night, in our home located along the river on Riverside Drive in the downtown Wheeler neighborhood of Evansville, Indiana, my friend Matt, his girlfriend at the time Wendy, and I sat at our kitchen table talking about religions and magic. Matt and Wendy came home late that night because Wendy was a skater on the local roller derby team. They had practiced late that particular night, pretty punk rock if you ask me. I always admired her strong presence, especially in a conversation regarding esoterica and magical practices. My fiancé at the time, Zach, was fast asleep in bed, for he had to be at work early the next morning. Zach was by all accounts a voodoo priest practitioner. His altar was located there in our dining room, which was a joined room to our kitchen. The room was a galley style, with wrap-around windows that opened up into the busy streets of Mulberry and Riverside. It was our favorite room to entertain in, and we did so quite often. We had just got on the subject of voodoo because of Zach's altar being a dominating presence in the room. We debated on the realness and authentication of his work. I stated how I wasn't in the practice, but respected Zach for it, and had little impute in the matter except for a strange story that had happened about a year earlier. You see, about 5 years before this night, I was managing at a Walmart deli in my hometown of Beaver Dam, KY. During around about Christmas time of that year, a lady that worked with me, whom claimed that she was a practicing voodooist, had given me a small shot-sized bottle of Fireball. Later that day another co-worker approached me and gave me a warning. She said, "You realize that you're on her bad side, because you wrote her up, and that she practices voodoo, and by you accepting that gift that she can now have power over you, right?" I laughed at the thought, but she remained stern in her gaze and seriousness of the matter. So when I got home I put it up on a shelf in my living room, where it sat for a few years until I met Zach and moved up here to Evansville with him. When I unpacked and merged our belongings, the bottle of Fireball ended up on a top shelf as a reminder to myself of what my old co-worker had warned me about, not to drink it. Well, while I was at work one night, Zach had a friend over. They spotted the bottle and she drank it. Within the next week or so she had lost her license, her job, and was dealing with social services over her kids. It was then that I started to believe that the lady in the deli was a true practitioner of voodoo, and that bottle of Fireball, and the bad luck it held by drinking it, was, no doubt, meant for me.
Side note. The word alcohol was derived from the Arabic term alghul, which means a body-eating spirit and is another term for ghoul, as in a ghost or spirit. We call some alcoholic drinks spirits. It's made from fermentation, which is essentially rot. In alchemy, alcohol is used to extract the essence of a mineral, essence meaning is in soul. So, drinking basically extracts your soul. Alchemy has three main parts that make us who we are. The three primes, also known as alchemist Paracelsus Tria Prima, they are sulfur, mercury, and salt. Sulfur being our spirit, mercury being our mental mind, and salt being our physical body. A easier way to look at it is, sulfur, our spirit selves, are controlling salt, our physical bodies, using our mercury, our mind, as the steering wheel. After drinking alcohol, you become tethered to your physical body while you leave the driver's seat open for neighboring entities to take it for a spin. In an easier term, it can make you become possessed. People often black out and don't remember much after consuming too much alcohol. Some turn mean and can be abusive and even dangerous. We call this the consumptive spirit.
After telling this story to Matt and his guest, Wendy outright stated that she did not believe in voodoo and wasn't sure if she could buy into it. When she made that statement, a chill went down my spine. The windows were closed tight, so I was perplexed to where this sudden gust of wind was coming from. From my seat at the table I could look to my right and see through the living room and at the door that led to our bedroom. I watched, half expecting it to open and for Zach to emerge to help with the debate, but instead I watched as the door slowly crept open with a whining creak and felt another sudden gust of wind come forth from the bedroom once the door had rested at its open position. I could also see the one window in the bedroom, and it was fast closed. The wind raised the hair on my arm and sent another chill, this time down my legs, raising the hairs on them and on the back of my neck. I had a feeling of sudden dread and fear. Then the house creaked and popped, as one does when a door or window opens up and changes the pressure in the house. There were no open windows or doors leading outside that were open at the time. At that moment I had a thought of quickly changing the topic, but before I could say a word, Wendy reiterated that she had no belief on the topic of voodoo. As another phantom gust of wind crossed through into the kitchen, I then saw a glimmer in the corner of my eye coming from behind where Wendy was sitting, one of light reflecting on glass, and as I looked over to see what it was I realized that the 4-foot window pane just behind her was tilting inward in a fall, and was about to smash her in the top of her head.
These windows were huge and not light by no means. I gasped before I could speak the words. I then see Matt's hand dart out to break the fall. I was sure it was going to slice his hand. It had a long way to fall. He caught it while yelling no 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 no. He managed to catch it before it hit Wendy, and he did so without breaking the glass, which surely would have sliced them both up pretty badly. It was the way he caught it that saved them. He caught it with the tips of his fingers, allowing his hand to absorb the impact. We all three just sat and stared at each other, knowing that a change of topic was indefinably at hand. I think she now believes, as do Matt and I.
Let me take a quick moment to defend the practice of voodoo, as well as hoodoo. I don't want to be one who misguides what the practice work truly is. It's only evil if the practitioner has ill intent. This is called red magic in voodoo. There is no black or white magics in this practice. Red magic is looked down upon by most practitioners. Even with that said, thanks to popular portrayals by Hollywood, it is perhaps one of the world's most misunderstood religions. Most depictions of voodoo show a dark, mysterious religion that revolves around animal sacrifices, casting harmful spells, and using dolls to hurt others. That's about as far from the truth as you can get, and the real stories behind voodoo are proof that you can't believe everything you see on television. At first glance, it seems that a religion that revolves around spiritual possession, potions, and the worship of ancestors would have little to do with Christianity. However, there are strong parallels. In the case of Louisiana and Haitian voodoo, many Christian traditions, beliefs, and figures have been incorporated into this flexible religion. The spirits are central to the practice of voodoo, and many of the central figures have Christian counterparts. Aida Wedo is a virginal figure of Mary, while Legba, the guardian gatekeeper, is a mirror image of Saint Peter. In voodoo, important spirits that believers connect with are called the Loa. These Loa and their families can be called by the names of the Catholic saints they represent. In West African voodoo, there is a very Christian belief that there is one supreme God ruling all. In fact, the parallels between voodoo and Christianity are so strong that there is no animosity between the two parties, and in many areas they peacefully coexist. Someone who practices voodoo is often accused, especially by Hollywood, of being a powerful person who orders the spirits to do their bidding. That's not the case at all. In fact, the opposite is true. Voodoo practitioners see themselves as servants of the spirits. They don't actually tell the spirits to do anything, they provide offerings and honor, and then ask. Voodoo priests and priestesses undergo a long period of training before performing any ritual that opens themselves up to spiritual possession. During these rituals, one of the two spirits that inhabit the body, the T-Bon Ange, leaves the body so the spirit of a Loa can possess it. The T-Bon Ange is the portion of the spirit that contains the individual, and must be protected when the individual is hosting a Loa. The other part, the Gros Bon Ange, is a spirit that is shared among all the living. Like in my explanation of the term alcohol in alchemy, when the soul leaves the body the vessel can be hijacked if the spirit ends up in the hands of another entity. That's not a Loa awesome. In the case of this story, and the self-proclaimed Mambo, aka, a female voodoo priestess, had ill intent with giving me this so-called gift. It is known as a fetish in voodooism, that is to enchant or curse an inanimate object with a spirit of good fortune or, in this case, bad fortune. It is my belief that she was acting under the influence, no pun intended, of another entity, the Al Ghul. Is that why the term describing a drunk person is, under the influence? Influences are usually from an intelligent being, not a substance. It's the consumptive spirit at work. Now back to my story.